Hey everybody, Matt Ham here. Welcome to another one of our weekly calls. Today we are going to continue with our series on teamwork. We're kind of adapting John Maxwell's laws of teamwork specific to the Red Earth team, but again, it's applicable in a lot of different areas of life. And so I hope that you guys will join us for this and certainly enjoy it as much as I have. It's been good to have a little format and walk through this content together. So I appreciate you guys taking time to join us. If you have not already, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can go on there. We've got an archive of videos. I was looking at it today. We're somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 to 70 videos. We're going to have a lot of different courses and content like this, so make sure you're accessing everything that you have the opportunity to access in regards to your own personal development and support and encouragement with your career here. Moving down the line, the laws of teamwork. John Maxwell wrote this book probably back in the 90s, maybe early 2000s. We addressed week number 1, the law of significance, that anything significant requires a team. Law number 2, the big picture, understanding what the goal is for the team. Law number 3, the law of the niche, finding people who are specifically valuable in various parts of the team and bringing things together. But today is the law of Mount Everest. This is law number 4, the law of Mount Everest. And I personally love Mount Everest stories. You know, Mount Everest being the tallest mountain in the world. It's kind of one of those feats that people put their life into, and kind of the bucket list idea to climb Mount Everest. And it's interesting because I've done some studies on this, and so I love the various dynamics and how it relates in our own lives and careers of climbing mountains and setting goals and coming together as a team. It's interesting. There were 2 gentlemen who initially climbed Mount Everest to become the first 2 men ever to ascend the summit. What most people don't know is that process of ascending the summit of Mount Everest was a 30-year process. I believe the first attempt on Mount Everest was in the 1920s, and it was 1953 before the 2 gentlemen ever set foot on that mountain. And those first, I think there were 7 different attempts before they were successful. Those men learned a lot and failed miserably for 33 years before anyone ever ascended to the summit. It's interesting, in that final group there, the expedition, there were 2 men, Tom Bourdillon and Charles Evans, who had the first shot at ascending up to the summit of Mount Everest, and both of those gentlemen failed. So when you look at the history books, nobody really knows Tom Bourdillon and Charles Evans, but they do recognize Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay. Many folks focus on Edmund Hillary and telling this story, but today I want to focus on Tenzing Norgay. Tenzing Norgay was a gentleman who was born in Nepal, and he had kind of a knack for being able to climb mountains. They used to joke that he had a third lung, because not only could he climb mountains, he could climb mountains with all of these apparatus and things on his back. And he was what's known as a Sherpa. A Sherpa was a native indigenous person who had an understanding of the mountain, who would come alongside these different expeditions and help them accomplish the feat of climbing Mount Everest. Now, Tenzing Norgay, interestingly enough, he actually had a goal in his own life to climb Mount Everest. And it was funny, his first attempt on Mount Everest was when he was 21 years old in 1935. And in 1935, he failed. And he went on 5 other attempts, only being successful on his 6th attempt in 1953. So here's a man who was born in the mountains. Mountain climbing was in his DNA. It was the thing that he always had wanted to do. But he dedicated his life to coming alongside others as a team of people in order to climb the mountain. And now, as John Maxwell points out, that when we have a Mount Everest to climb, we need a team in order to accomplish that. And what he says here is, as the challenge escalates, the need for teamwork elevates. I think that a great correlation to this in our real estate careers and in our individual communities If you're really not set out to do anything excellent or earth-shattering or world-changing, you really don't need a team of people. You really don't need a team of people, as he says, to climb a hill. There's a hill up the road or in your backyard that you can go climb by yourself. You don't really need a team of people to do that. But Mount Everest is very different. Taking on that type of feat requires a massive dedication from a team. So I would say, as you guys navigate your different communities, this is very much a team project. You don't build some of the most premier, private, amenitized communities in the country without a team of people coming together to do that. You guys are one part of that team and a team within a team. You're a salesperson. You've got your other salespeople. You've got your management. You've got your administrative team. You also have the team here at Red Earth, at the home base, if you will, that's responsible for putting signs together, putting flyers together, graphics, making sure that all of the renderings are coming together as they need to come together, the sales support from folks like myself and John. So this is a team. This is a team effort. You guys are not individually insulated in your own world where you can just go and sell property. There is a team of people that are coming together. And so I think that the application of this law of Mount Everest is understanding that this isn't just about your career and you selling real estate. Although it is, the sooner that you and I and we are willing to come together as a team, the greater chance we will have as accomplishing that overall goal of meeting the sales goals of each community. And the better we can work together as a team and our strengths, the better we'll be able to kind of conquer that Everest, if you will. One of the things that was great as I was reading and studying about this history of Mount Everest was Tenzing Norgay on one of their early expeditions in 1935. They would take these groups or expeditions of people and they would get to new altitudes, new plateaus, and then they would rest, set up camp and rest. And then they would regroup and go to a higher altitude. And that's how they essentially scaled the mountain and got to the summit. But in 1935, they got to one of the highest elevations that they had gotten to at like 21,000 feet. It was still like 8,000 feet from the summit, but they were up at a new atmosphere and they saw a wind-shredded tent over to the side. And they walked in that tent and they found frozen solid the bones of a dead man. And it was wild because they had never been there before, and here's a tent all by itself and one lone man frozen to death in that tent. And they discovered that those bones, let's see here, I'm going to get this guy's name right. The bones were the bones of a man named Maurice Wilson. Maurice Wilson was an Englishman who decided not to go through the traditional path of getting permission from the Tibetan government and getting a Sherpa team with him. He went at the mountain alone, and it cost him his life. And one of the interesting things about Mount Everest, they say, is that there are more than 120 bodies of people on the mountain who have died in the process of ascending the summit. And so when you set out to do anything great, you're ultimately risking it all for this level of greatness. And if it doesn't require everything you have, the question is it a big enough goal? Is it a big enough challenge? I love the final story of Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary when they got to the summit. They had pushed through, altitude sickness and blizzards and frostbite and near exhaustion, and they're finally to this moment. And they come up upon the final 40 feet of Mount Everest, which is a sheer rock face. And Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary were there, and they said, "We've made it this far. We've got to finish scaling the summit, but we don't know how." And Edmund Hillary looked around and he found this crevice in the rock where he was able to wedge himself in and get up. That last 40 feet of Mount Everest is now known as the Hillary Step. Sir Edmund Hillary found a way to get up the last 40 feet in order to ascend the summit, which he did in 1953. And now there's a ton of folks that have done it, but he was a pioneer who went first. And so there's a lot of different directions that we could take this. But the thing that I want to press into you with you all is pause and ask yourself, what is your Mount Everest? You know, I think a lot of times we might have individual goals, and we might have individual dreams. And I think we can focus on this in two things. Number one is you do have to have an individual goal and an individual dream. So write it down, ponder it. What is your Mount Everest? You know, for me, being very vulnerable and just sharing with you guys, I have a Everest goal of being part of building a campus facility here in Wilmington known as the Life Center, where folks can come and they can be invested in, and we can walk with them to remove any obstacles that they might have, any needs that they might have, whether it's spiritually, financially, from addictions to recovery, all that kind of stuff. And we can begin to walk with them and cultivate their dream and help them launch that dream into reality. This is a vision called the Life Center. It's a $25+ million vision of a campus facility. And right now we are walking it out in its intimate steps. So that is my Everest. I share that Everest with my business partner and the co-founder of our organization, Kevin Adams, and his wife, Holly. And right now we're in the early phases of bringing that to life. And I'll tell you what, we need a team of people. And in order to accomplish any type of Everest goal, you need a team of people. We're realizing that right now. We need folks to be able to help us. So in your own life, whatever your Everest is, know that it's going to take a team of people to get there. Now, you might be the one who's out there charging like Edmund Hillary, but he had Tenzing Norgay. They also had all the men who had gone before them and failed. They also had a team of like 300 men on the mountain to carry up all the equipment, etc., etc., etc. So know that there is an Everest-type goal in each one of you. But that Everest goal cannot be accomplished on its own or by yourself. You have to have a team of people around you. So what does your team look like? Who are the people that are going to be in the trenches with you and help you? Do you have the person along your side? Do you have the support mechanism that you need? And are you cultivating those relationships? So I would challenge you in your own life. Have your personal Everest. What is it? What does it look like? What's that BHAG, that big, hairy, audacious goal? What's that crazy thing you want to accomplish in your life? Now, do you have the team of people in place to be able to help you get to that summit, that mountain peak? Secondarily, I would challenge you all as individual team at these individual communities. What is the Everest goal for the team this year? So those who are in management or overseeing the teams at the various communities, establish your team's Everest. Let the team understand that this is the collective goal that we can accomplish as you look back on all the different laws we've already discussed. And now, is everyone buying into that Everest type goal, and is the team in place? You know, one of the hardest things about teamwork is figuring out when you have someone on the team who's not cut out for the job. Case in point, if you're climbing Mount Everest and you got somebody on the team who's afraid of heights and doesn't like cold weather, guess what? They do not need to be on the mountain with you. And so you either have to find something that they can do that still benefits the team, not requiring them to be on the mountain, or you need to let them go. And so the tough thing in leadership or being a part of a team is recognizing when people are not cut out for the Everest that you guys are intended to climb. And you've got to have those difficult conversations and either develop the people so that they can climb the mountain with you or move on from there. You know, I think that as I wrap up today, I want to read this passage here. Interestingly enough, this is from Tenzing Norgay's journal as he climbed Mount Everest for the first time. He said, "You do not climb a mountain like Everest by trying to race ahead on your own, nor by competing with your comrades. You do it slowly and carefully by unselfish teamwork. Certainly, I wanted to reach the top myself. It was the thing I had dreamed of my whole life. But if the lot fell to someone else, I would take it like a man and not a crybaby, for that is the mountain way. We were worn out, sick with exhaustion, and of course, terribly disappointed when we got back and had not reached the summit. He's talking about the Bordillion, Tom Bordillion and Evans. But still, they did everything they could to advise and help us. And I thought, yes, that is how it is on a mountain. That is how a mountain makes men great. For where would Edmund Hillary and I have been without the help of the others? Without the climbers who had made the route and the Sherpas who had carried the loads? Without Bordillion and Evans, Hunt and de Namegel, who had cleared the way? Without Lowe and Gregory, Einhimya, Eintempera, and Pimba, who were there only to help us? It was only because of the work and sacrifice of all of them that we were now to have our chance at the top. I love kind of his own words as he looks back and reflected on climbing his summit. And I hope it's encouraging to you guys as well, because ultimately, when you want to climb your Everest, it's going to take a team of people to do it. And that's where it's your responsibility and my responsibility as part of a team to define what your Everest is, to be very clear about that dream and make sure that it is an Everest-sized dream and not just a hill in the backyard. And then secondarily, understanding what the team looks like, who's on the team, are they cut out for the job? And then finally, developing the team in order to move toward that Everest goal. So just a great reminder for us today to do amazing, world-changing things. It's going to take a team, and we have to be intentional about the dream, but the team has to be as big as the dream is and as specific as the dream is. So that is the fourth law of leadership, the law of Mount Everest. Thank you guys for joining us today and tuning in. We'll be back next week with Law 5. Matt Ham signing off. You have a good one.